Yeah.
Here I am, fell for the trick. Here I am yarning up and I muted myself. I'm going to start all that again. G'day, g'day everybody. Welcome to the show. Night and day. Yeah, I was muted. Night and day with Luna and Nese, where we look at a native lens through a native lens. I'm sitting here yarning to myself, thinking, "Now I've got no response of anyone. What's going on?" And looks down, and I'm muted myself. So, welcome, John and Donny. How yous going, fellas? Thanks for coming.
Yeah, my sister girl. Not too bad. Starting to slowly get over this bloody flu, but not too bad.
Oh, that's good. And how are you, John?
Oh, good. Yeah, Yama. How you all?
G'day.
And thankfully it's getting warmer now. Spring, end of spring, and summer's coming.
Oh yeah, yeah. Need a bit of bloody warm weather there, John.
Yeah, I went outside and I'm starting to go brown now.
Yeah.
Yep, that's happened. I've been catching. I actually went for a walk.
I'll be back in a sec.
Oh, that's Johnny on the no worries. Don't worry about the technical problems. We've had them all day. Yeah, I've been getting some sun rays, that good vitamin D in your blood. Get some colour up. What do they call it? Melanin? Is that what it's called, John? Melanin? What's in your body?
But the internet's down.
Huh?
Internet's down.
Ronnie needs.
Ah, shit.
We can
You
still
haven't
hear
got
you.
enough fuel to go right into town, eh?
No.
Yeah. I muted him. I'll pop him back on in a minute. Internet's gone. Gee, that could be a scary thing, eh? We've all got a bit used to the internet.
That's the latest from rural New South Wales.
Yeah. The internet's gone. Not only is it flooding out there, but the internet's gone.
Flooding, the internet's gone, and the drop bears are on attack.
Yeah, that's funny. Hang on, we'll see if he's finished yet. This is going to be funny. And today's show was funny too, my brother. Eh? Hang on. You still there, Donny? No, we lost him completely now, I think. Hello. All right, we'll just keep yarning and he'll come back. I want to say g'day to Ken Rotman in the chat room there, and Joe, sister girl. Thanks for coming. You're always there. So, John, how was your week, my brother?
Yeah, busy. Very busy week. Yeah, we had the Youth Eco Summit in the heart of Sydney at Sydney Olympic Park, and we had around close to 3,000 primary school students from probably year 2 up to year 6 from the local schools in the area, and they come to Sydney Olympic Park and we had all our Aboriginal youth, the high school students, and those high school students then taught all the different primary schools, the schools that had visited, which are all from different multicultural backgrounds, all different socioeconomic backgrounds, and they come and learn about Aboriginal culture in little workshops of 30, and they done rotations. So our Aboriginal students taught them all about Aboriginal dance, culture, art, song, sports, and by the end of the day, those 2 days, all those primary school kids, they all wanted to be Aboriginal. They're all proud of Indigenous culture and in kinship with community, looking at country and looking after country and thinking about each other as a big family. So it was a big day. It was worth it though. 2 big days, actually.
Hey, we got a question in the chat room. Where are you from, John? I was going to type it in, but do you want to tell them?
I live in Western Sydney and Mount Druitt, and between Parramatta, which is not far, centre of Sydney, and the Blue Mountains, it's the biggest Indigenous community in Australia, intertribal, amongst the many, many multicultural faces of Sydney. So I come from Mount Druitt, but my people are Gummerai and Wiradjuri people from the western side of the mountains and the plains.
And mine's the same. We're the same.
Yeah, same people.
Yeah, and Donny's an Anawan man. Hey, John, did you know Auntie Mavis? I told her I went out to visit Donny. That's her mob as well.
Oh, true.
Yeah. I've got to get a last name so I can find out if Donny...
Isn't it? Mavis Halverson.
Huh?
Auntie Mavis Halverson.
Yeah, Donny, can you hear that?
No, I'm having trouble hearing John.
You having trouble hearing John?
Mavis Halverson. Mavis Halverson.
Malcolm, is she from Tinga?
I don't know. Where's she from? Luna, where did you say
I don't know. I have to go ask her proper, because I just got so excited when she told me she was from Donny's mob. And I said to Donny, that's why I liked her. I didn't know that. I just knew I liked her. We've got Rotman. He's painted houses in Mount Druitt. Yeah, the Mountie County. It's an original place. The people from there are beautiful, and they'll give you the shirt off their back. And if you go anywhere and meet someone from Mount Druitt, they're always still the same person. Hey, John.
Yeah, and at the moment, Mount Druitt is going crazy because our Samoan community is celebrating the rugby finals with Australia versus Samoa that I think is happening in... Is it where they having that final in London, eh? Donny.
What's that?
The football international grand final.
I think it's in London, I think.
Yeah, London. So Samoa and Australia are playing. So all the Samoan community in Mount Druitt are partying down at the big park.
Oh, okay.
Actually, that explains what I saw the other day. I was coming back from the train station, and in the car park near the gym was a car with a trailer on the back, and it had this ginormous A-frame thing on the trailer, and it had Go Samoa.
There's a lot of Samoan community living out west of Sydney.
Yeah, they do. My neighbour's one. Yeah, we're mixed, big mixed mob now. We were mixed mob in the beginning, now we're even bigger.
Yeah.
Oh, pardon me.
Oh, I hope you enjoyed that, Donny.
That was tea tonight then. Buddy cucumber always does it to me.
That's funny.
Sorry, you got a comment from Rotman there, Luna?
I got a what?
A comment there. He's just...
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because he lived in Mount Druitt. He had a friend from French Island. She's part of the mob there and been waiting to live there Yeah, Brotman, you should go. Poor Kenny lived in a beautiful place near the beach. Then he had to move into the suburbs and he's having a terrible time. I think he should go to an island, Brotman. Ken. Anyway, I was talking to Donny earlier tonight. He had a couple of questions for you, John. You up for a couple of questions?
Yeah.
All right, then fire away, Donny. Do you remember what you wanted to ask?
My
What
bank
was that?
account.
You had questions for John about protocol, was it?
Yeah. Cultural protocol.
I thought you was going to ask me for my bank account details.
Yeah, what I want your money for? You're probably broke, brother.
Well, I've got the true riches of the native people, which is each other. We got each other. As long as we got each other, we're all good.
Yeah, bloody hell, brother. As
And,
long as
and
we
that,
can make a feed and have a campfire, we'll be all right.
That's it.
and
Yeah.
don't forget the diabetes.
Yeah, don't forget the diabetes.
We make jokes about that all the time. Unfortunately for you, those listening, we make a joke about it because it's a common thing in the mob. Every time we eat something sweet, we make a joke about diabetes because it's just so common.
Sugar doesn't treat our people very well.
No, we never.
It's not
We
a
only
part of our
honey.
natural makeup.
Yeah, it's
I think it's
acid.
the same for a lot of people, different mobs around the world. Sugar's not really good for a lot of us.
And where did sugarcane come from then? Because up north, they all sugarcane mob. Where did that come from?
But that was brought here. But I think it's because it's refined, you see, processed and
Yeah.
refined.
Yeah, because they reckon when you cut a sugarcane and the liquid that's in there that comes out is different to the sugar that you spoon out.
Mm.
Yeah,
that white stuff that you spoon out, you know.
Yeah, it's been processed.
Yeah, they reckon it's kind of better for you. It's more natural, like fruit juice.
Yeah.
So, all right, I'm just going to let Donny. I'm going to have a yarn now and ask protocol, and I'm going to listen and learn, and hand it over to you, my brother. There you are.
Yeah. I just want to know what your thoughts and opinions on cultural protocol when going out on country.
Well, yeah.
No, go for it, John.
No, keep on going, brother. I'll finish what you were saying. Sorry.
Yeah, because I was invited to go out in country. You know the mob called LLS, Local Land Service.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, they're making ranges up around here to look after our interest on the old stock routes and stock reserves.
Yeah.
And they were asking my opinion on culture protocol, like when you go on country, what to do, what to say, how to act. And I gave them my opinion, which is the first thing you do when you go on the country, especially special places like special sites. Do a smoking ceremony. If you can't do, say, a smoking ceremony, give your intentions as you go out in country, show respect, and things like that. Well, I don't know if there's a unified one for it, or is there each mob got their own, cultural protocol when going out on country?
Well, I think it depends where you're going. You see, if you're going to a place where you know about and you know that that's a very powerful place, then there'd be a set of rules, protocols to go to that place. But if you're not sure where you're going, it's always important to do a smoking, or some mobs use water. They do water blessing. But again, depends where you're going. And they use a smoke, and they always call out to them spirits and to country just to let them know that they're there and why they're there and what they're doing.
Yeah. Well, that's basically what I told them. But this mob here, there's a mixed bag of them. Most of them are from Wiradjuri country.
Yeah,
And now they came on the Kamilaroi, Gumalroy land. I said, you have to show them a lot more respect because you're on a different mob's land when you're here.
yeah, and
Yeah.
those like Gumrow and Radri people are they're similar people, as in like the cultural ways, and
Mm,
all of us from where your mob are, a little bit further north, out west, we're all got a similar
yeah,
way of doing business, and it's important to do a smoking and
yeah. But sometimes you just can't do like a smoking ceremony. So I suggested a rock stacking ceremony if they can't do that.
yeah. Well, this is the thing, they should make the time, because it doesn't take 5 minutes to just pull by the side of the road, put
Yeah,
some leaves on there, smoke yourself, and call out. I mean,
mm,
that's what you should do. Like it's like wiping
yeah,
your feet at the door before you enter someone's home.
yeah,
You
yeah,
prepare
yeah,
yourself to be clean and courteous
yeah.
and respectful before you walk
Mm,
into people's front door. So that's what they should be doing.
yeah. That's right. Well, that's basically what I told them. Like, yeah, but sometimes, like when they get what's this bloody when they say it's high fire danger and you're not allowed to light a fire, and I'm just thinking to myself, well, if they can't do a smoking ceremony, they could do a rock stacking ceremony or something else, or state their intentions when they're going out on that country. Because I said a lot of places around this area haven't been, identified as Aboriginal sites. I said you're going on the country where you don't know what's there. I know
Exactly.
smoking ceremony would be the best.
Well, see, those things are more dangerous than causing a fire. And if they don't know how to do a smoke and ceremony without causing a bushfire, then they shouldn't be national parks rangers.
You got that point there. Yeah, I know what you mean, brother.
And
Yeah,
having the state put its rules on top of us. We've been here
yeah,
first. We're here first. We've been here since dot one. We know how to manage fire. We're not the
yeah,
ones that cause wildfires that that incinerate millions of native animals, kill people, destroy property. We're not the
yeah,
ones who manage country to allow that to happen. They are,
yeah.
and they don't listen
Well,
to us.
yeah. Well, um, yeah. Well, as far as I can see, LAS around this area, I don't know. I think it's also to do with the Radjuri mob too. Is they're going to manage more of the local lands, the old PP board, the old stock routes and stock reserves.
Yeah.
Uh, they are also going to be doing culture burns as well,
Well,
um, which I reckon is a good idea because it needs to be done and needs to be done properly and needs to be done by our mob.
that's right. And the more we do our own burning, the more the country will heal.
Yeah. Well, we went out to a burn site there um, 3 days ago there, John, where we done a culture burn,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely beautiful. The grass is nice and green and lush, and um, you can see some of the bush tucker coming back through. It was just unbelievable to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And that's how it's got to be.
yeah. It should be that way. It should have been. Should have never let us stop us from bloody doing it.
Exactly.
Mm. No, I just thought I wanted your opinion on bloody protocol, culture protocol.
Yeah,
You
no,
know,
I agree. I was just telling everyone about the youth gathering at Sydney Olympic Park, and when we had those big fires throughout the East Coast, and there was
yeah,
all these fire bans, we had international mob come in, Native American, like First Nations mob. We had mob from North Queensland. And Sydney Big Park said, "Oh, look, you shouldn't be. There's a fire ban. You're not allowed to do a smoking." I said to them, "Well, it's easy as this. We're sovereign people. We're going to do smoking whether you like it or not."
Yeah.
I said, our mob from North Queensland said that they won't light any fires in solidarity with other communities, like the big fire on the dance ground. We won't light that, but we're doing we're going to do we're going to do all the smoking, and that's our cultural way.
Yeah.
And if you don't like it, then ring the police.
Yeah. Well, that's about the point. Yeah. Well, I've done it in a camp oven, like in a dry area. I put done a smoking ceremony in an old camp oven.
Yeah, you can do that there too. Yeah.
Yeah, because you won't get away from a camp oven unless it's bloody hot.
Yeah, you don't need a lot of fire to make a smoking ceremony.
No, all you need is the smoke. Yeah.
You can do it in a container, in a one of those metal fire containers, or in a you can do it in a little dish in a wiri. You can do it.
Yeah.
I mean, this is my argument. This is my argument in the park, and at the end of the day, they let us do what we wanted to do.
Yeah.
I said to them, New South Wales got a fire ban, but there are exceptions, and those exceptions are religious exceptions. So the Catholic Church can use incense in their church. The Hindu community can use incense and fire. Muslim community can. Any other religious group can, but they're trying to say to us that we can't do a smoking ceremony.
Yeah. Which is wrong because it is basically our religion, isn't it?
Exactly. That's what I said. This is our spiritual way. We're here first. You've come and imposed your rules on top of us. We're sovereign people. You can do what you like. We're going to do it anyway. So,
hey, we're talking about rules and regulations. Down in Melbourne, down that way, they just put a law that if you're found off the walking track, you get a $10,000 fine. Now, when I heard that, I thought about all us fellas walking out in the bush. Oh, look, there's some food. We go off track and go and pick some, and then the next thing, some fella jumps out of the bush wearing a uniform and goes, "You're under arrest, $10,000 fine." Like up until now, like the fishing law and that, we were allowed to do what we want. What do you fellas think about that? And does it affect us? Have you heard about it? And does it actually affect us?
I don't know about it. But I do know about other rules and regulations they put over the top of us. But the thing is, this is what I maintain. Our people were here before. We were here before. We were here now. Our laws were first. You've brought the colonial laws on top. Other communities got to assimilate, because you can't live in this country for 85,000 years plus and not learn something positive. So we've got that positive knowledge to share with everyone in the circle. No matter who you are, we open the circle to welcome everyone as family, and that's the tradition and natural law of this land. So I don't care what colonial rules they put on top of us or the rest of the community. COVID was a perfect example. Talk about colonial, convict colony. No, I'm not. That's why our people are so full of. Like our people are in the jail. We're full of to the top, because the whole of society, the institutions of society, make it illegal just to be who we are.
Yeah. They're trying to stop us being black fellas. Yeah. I know what you mean.
So,
I felt that when I went to visit Donny, and there was a place we went to this place, and we were following the ancestors where they were showing us to go, right? And one part of it was in someone's private property, and I said to Johnny, is that someone's place? And we're all standing there looking, and he just goes, "Fuck it, we're going in." we didn't go to harm anything, but we had to go and walk on that place,
Well, I think Brother Rotman there was saying he lives in Victoria, so he just made a comment about that. Luna?
Oh, yeah, I can see what he said. Friend recent. Oh, yeah, he posted. I watched that actually, Ken, where his friend's homeless, and she can't even pull over on the side of the road and have a nap. And that's what I thought. How does that work with truck drivers? They tell you when you're travelling not to drive too long, you should pull over on the side of the road and have a nap. Now, if you're not allowed to do that and you get fined, now what do you do? Well, we're just going to have a crash?
You know what we got to
road?
we got to crash the system, because every time we comply, they push us into the corner.
True.
I mean, look at COVID lockdown. Remember all that? I made a point to make sure I broke one of the rules every day.
That was your mission.
That was a mission. Every day I would break a rule.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Everyone knows that I'm real staunch about those things. I am who I am and can't change it. With protocol, I want to talk to you with protocol. When you and Donny were talking, I remember when we went to Uluru, and we went all the way, and we got to the last gate before you enter into their land, and I said to Carl, we can't go without permission. So we waited all day for permission, and the night was coming, so we were preparing to turn around and go home. And as we're leaving, one of the young girls runs up and says, where were you going? And I went, I was going that way to Uluru, but I was waiting for permission. And she said, that's why I'm here. They actually gave us blessings. We not only got permission, we got blessings. And I'm really glad about that, because at that moment, smoking and that weren't an option because of where we were. The blessings kind of washed over us, if you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. But, I've been in a hospital when one of our sisters is dying, and we needed to smoke, and all we could find was a bit of cardboard, a foil tray, and because we were on the second floor, the eucalyptus tree, we could just go on the balcony and pull off the leaves. So we wheeled her out onto the balcony, got the piece of cardboard with the foil tray on it, chucked the eucalyptus leaves in there, and started a little fire on the balcony and smoked up. Yeah. Because we had no choice in it, and it was something that absolutely had to be done because we're running out of time. And we improvised, but I was laughing when you said that, John, use this, use that, and I'm thinking, shame. It feels a bit shameful now looking back on it, but we just improvised and did the job that we had to do by using a bit of cardboard and a tin foil tray.
Yeah, you got to do what you got to do. But the thing is, we've got to maintain that culture, because, you look around the world and the same process has happened. You look at, for instance, our Irish king and family, look at our Scottish family, look at all the different cultures around the world where they push to stop people from speaking their language, doing their ceremony, doing their business, and assimilating them and destroying their ancestors' ways and the values that come with it. We've got to fight. I'll give you an example. So in North Queensland, the Yidinji around Cairns have declared sovereignty, and they've established a sovereign government. They've given up Australian citizenship and any links to Australian social security benefits and the system that supports people through their institutions. They have established their own digital currency and their own economics. They now have they have agreements with other countries. So they've got an agreement with Germany where you can enter Germany with a Yidinji passport. They've got they're talking in having negotiations of different nations around the world to establish economic trade ties. And last weekend, their Yidinji police, who allow citizenship for anyone on their country, doesn't matter if you're Aboriginal or not, you can apply to the Yidinji government, sovereign Aboriginal government, to apply for citizenship, and you're given the rights if you live on their country. their sovereign police put up roadblocks on every road into Cairns. Now, you wouldn't have seen that on the nightly news. They put roadblocks on every road entering Cairns and stopped vehicles and let them know that they were entering Yidinji sovereign territory. And they did it in a really respectful way and gained nothing but support. And they are showing that our First Nations have an important role to play in this continent, and everyone in the circle is welcome. So they're flexing muscles up in North Queensland.
Yeah, that thing, that's a really good idea. I'd like to see that grow more. Changes need to be made. And actually, John, I showed Brehon Law today in the earlier show I did today, G'day Saturday. We took a look at that law because I'm trying to, we need new laws, we need better laws. And I was saying we need laws that are part LAW law and part LORE law, considering we got things in this world that they never had back then, and somehow get a good proper way of living. You know, talking about protocols. What about protocols for life? Like, we had protocols for life. Like, there were things. This is what you do in life, and it's very important because it was a guide to help you have a good life.
Yeah, and help have a good life and help the natural world be in balance. That's what it was all about. It was about balance.
Yeah. I'm just trying to reply to some things in the chat room here. So, we've got a fellow who wants to talk to me, John, in the chat room there. If you want to, if you got any questions for us, I can put you in at the end of the show. You can ask us questions, and we can yarn after the show. And so later on, I'll put the link in for anyone that wants to ask questions or have a yarn with us. So I wanted, upstairs has tapped me on the shoulder saying, talk about ochre, why we paint up ochre, because like smoking, it has its equal value, and it's like a partner to ceremony. Do you want to comment on that? Because we got red ochre, white ochre, we got all different colour ochres, but some places don't use all the same colours, and they mean different things in different mobs. So I'll ask Donny, what ochres do you use in your mob?
We usually use white ochre. Red ochre is for want a better word, funerals. That's about the best I can give you on that because I'm really not in that. I don't know that territory really well.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Appreciate the input. That's the opposite to us. Ours is the other way around. John, do you want to comment on that one?
Yeah, well, it depends on what ceremony or reason you use an ochre. So for funeral, you'll paint up. Well, what they used to do is burn a special tree, burn the leaves, and you'll mix it up with the pipe clay or like the white clay, and then it'll become like a really grey colour. Or you can use a bit of oil and fat in with it too. So they use white for funerals, black for welcome, red and yellow for different reasons. But they see depending too, like if you're dancing, you'll be painting up for that story for that dance. So there's lots of different reasons why you use different colours, and there is many different reasons why you use colours as you know in the parallel way you would say you use different colours for road signs. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Red, amber, and green, red stop sign. So that there's purpose for everything. Same as with the colours. Different ceremony, different paint up, different story.
I know down south, I went visiting down their mob once, and they showed me they don't have red ochre. They get their red colour from the blood tree, and because it's the blood of the tree, the women aren't allowed to use the red in their mob. I found that interesting. And there's another mob, they get their white ochre out of the water, not out of the land. So they got to dive in the water and pick it up. It's interesting how we all use it differently, depending from where we come from.
I mean, see, we get the white from the pipe. The clay comes from where there's water. You see, so where there could be where the water dries up and you have the white pipe clay coming out, or you can dive into the creek and get it if the water's high, or you go where the creek's moved and there's still some there. So there's similarities and differences, but there's more things that are similar than they are different.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I wish Nese was here because I'd like to get their opinion on because they had war paint. How they used it would have been different again. Do you know anything about that, John? Because John has friends from Nese's mob as well. They don't know each other, but they're from the same mobs. And John actually went over and spent some time with them, so he learned a lot from there. Do you know anything about this?
It's not for me to speak about it because that's also about cultural protocol. Like
Yep.
you have to have a cultural authority to be able to speak about something. See, it's very different worldview. Like it's a different lens. When you go to university, people will read a book, they'll do some research, they'll talk about anything. They don't need cultural authority. They just need to publish a paper and go to the library or go to some digital database and get some information from somewhere. You know, they don't show the protocol. Whereas for us, there's cultural authority in the stories that we carry. So it's better for Nese to talk about that rather
Yeah, no,
than
yeah. That's why I said I wish he was here. I was just wondering if you did know anything about it, were you taught anything about it while you're over there? You don't have to tell us.
yeah. Donny won't talk about Radri stories. You know, he'll talk about his stories.
Yeah,
I won't talk about Anawan stories. It's not my place to talk about. It's Donny's place. He has the cultural authority. I won't tell the story like a woman's story, like the Seven Sisters. I won't be telling that story because it's your place to tell that story. I can tell a general overview for people to learn stuff, but for them to learn properly, they need to go to the person that holds that cultural authority.
no, well, that's the difference, eh? That's why you got to do the walking. That's what I call you got to walk beside us, and you'll find that out. And other than that, we're just it's like you said, it's a general overlay. We can't really get into the nitty gritty of stuff. So talking about general overlay, we were talking about the flood earlier. General overlay of water. And today I did a show on a book that talked about the flood happening in Europe, and it mentioned that it didn't really happen in the southern hemisphere, and it said that when the water come down, it was like a hose. It come down with that much force, it actually smashed things up, but it only took a week for it to soak back into the ground and 24 hours roughly for it to stop. And they said that when it stopped, it actually wasn't that deep. And now I was talking to John about, and me and Donny have also had this discussion about what we had here, what the floods were, the rains that we've had here in comparison to that. And we realised that it isn't much like we thought it would be. Do you fellas want to comment on that?
Johnny, you want to speak? Well, I'll explain what I learned. So when was younger, older uncle, is now passed on now. He explained to me when we were out west. He said, when he was young, he was told about the story of the big flood. And when we talk about a big flood, he's talking about a huge flood because that country is all floodplain. So floods are natural and floods are a normal process of the seasons. So this flood was the big flood, and he was saying that to me that big flood is like the big flood they had in the creation time. But he said all the people gathered around a special. Well, it's not a big mountain; it's more like a hill. It's only like 165 meters above sea level, so it's not high. But all the people gathered on um, the place called Kumbura Knob, and they hung there until the water went away. But he said that was their understanding of what happened at that time when there was a huge flood everywhere. That was the flood that come to our place. So compared to other places, it was, as you said, Luna. It's not a major destructive event like they talk about it in other places of the world.
Yeah, that's what I suspected, and I've found evidence to kind of suggest that. And yarning to you earlier, they just sealed it. That we had the effect. I always thought that we only get little effects. It doesn't actually really happen to us. We just get the effect of it.
Although, hold on, I forgot to mention, although the sea level rise from uncles on the coast, they did, like the old people said, there's a stories of how the sea rose up. The coastal people tell those stories, and that was a really big impact on communities where the sea rose really high, and you had those creative, powerful beings, spirit people that walked all the way up the coast to tell the people how to live after that disaster, and the story is held by all them coastal people. And the story goes that I won't tell you the story because it's not my place to tell it, but the gist of the story is, there was major sea level rise. The spirit being come and taught people how to live, and he said to the people that he'll be back again, and he gave certain signs to tell the people when he'll be back again when they're in the most need.
Oh, what was I going to say? Oh, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. I've heard stories too, but what puzzled me, and if you might be able to help me out here, you know how there used to be an inland sea? And the water rose, but the sea disappeared. Like, I don't understand that. Did the artesian basin suck it up, or like what happened? Do you know what happened there?
Yeah, I
No,
think
I don't.
that is the artesian basin. That water is the artesian basin.
Yeah, that's what I thought. So back then it was full up to the brim, and it come up on top of the ground, and then it's coming back now. Yeah, like all things, it's a cycle, and it's coming back. If you look at the map of Australia in the satellite, you can see year after year it's growing and coming back. But it was just funny how it disappeared. And now it's coming back. I heard a story in Western Australia. They found a campsite. The water receded, and they found a campsite there. And I scratched my head because I thought the water's receding, but the basin's filling up. Like, it's just sort of strange.
Well, that's
The
an
Tamworth area was an inland sea at one given stage. Because I know that for a fact because I found evidence of it being an inland sea around that Tamworth area. And that's
Yeah.
including what they call that I can't think of the name now. Petrified coral. I found that. I found um, fish embossed in stone. I've even actually got a piece of a flipper here embossed in stone. If I remember showing you, Luna.
Yeah,
That came,
yeah.
yeah, that came from Tamworth area. Evidence of crocodiles around the Tamworth area. So that story of being an inland sea is a good possibility. It is true.
Yeah, because when the water was around, Mungo was alive. Hey, John.
Yeah.
Well, should I go buy a surfboard? Nah.
Hey, what'd you say?
Go buy a surfboard.
Yeah, but yeah, right, because the water's coming back. You know when you walk past someone's house and they got this U-boot, souped up boat in their driveway on a trailer, and they're not near the water, and I walk past and smile and go, yeah, one day.
Well, it's all flooding out west. A lot of Western New South Wales underwater. So if you had a boat, you'd be, in high demand because the rivers and the country's flooded. You hear about that, Donny?
Yeah. All that western country out there is all underwater. Yeah. I'm not trying to be cynical, John, but I reckon, uh, how would you put it without being so rude or disrespectful? Mother's doing house cleaning, for want of a better word. Yeah.
Oh well, the old people used to say. They said when the rainbow serpent is angry because the country's not being respected or there's been disrespectful ways, then the rainbow serpent will bring the water and flood everyone out.
Yeah, well, I think that's just about how it's happening there, brother. I
Yep.
hate to say it, but I think it's happening.
One way or another.
Yeah, yeah. Is there any way you can turn your speaker up there, brother?
Is that better?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's better, John. Now I can hear you.
yeah, that's better. I got someone cooking in my background, trying to be quiet. Hey, you watch, everyone will come over now. and the food being dished out.
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with this. Usually it's okay, but I think I'm going to get one of those little speakers.
Yeah, you need one of those extra stuff. It pays to have you. Everyone's got you two monitors these days, John. We're way behind, you know. You mean Donny?
We're, we're in the dream time.
Yeah. Yeah, let's talk about that a bit because everyone always asks what is it and all that, and most people just say it's still happening now and doesn't really say anything to anyone. They don't explain it right, and it doesn't matter how many times you tell someone, there's always someone else behind them asking the same question. So yeah, either one of you can answer it. Say, talk a bit more about the dream time in your, and actually both answer it in their own ways because it's kind of personal as well. So either one of you can go first.
You first there, brother.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, the dream time. I mean, to understand it, you need to learn a little bit about the old way of seeing the world. So, the dream from an Aboriginal way, the dream time is different to a lot of different cultures. So, how do I like, for me to try to explain it's difficult because the word dream time is not even the word we use. So we've got our own language word for that, and um, it just doesn't mean a place or a time. It also means beings and things that happen in that time, and that
Yeah.
time is like now. It's in the past, and
And
it's
in
in
the
the
future.
future. It's all one at the same
Yeah.
instance, and it's
Yeah.
um yeah, it's not
Right.
just like yeah. Go on, brother. You're right.
Yeah. Well, all I was being told over the years is that the dreaming is happening now, happened then, and it will happen in the future. That's the way I was told. Um, so it's basically it's just an ongoing thing. That's what basically I was told.
Yeah, so it's a perpetual present.
Yeah.
So past, the future, and now is all in the present. It's a different realm, and that realm there's not time like we have in this physical world where you have time that is linear,
Yeah.
and you know I'll say one word and then past and bang, it's in the past. Whereas
Yeah.
in the creation and in the what we say barakal, that's all in the same present, and it's the place and that space where you where you are before you're born, when you
Yeah.
pass on, and now if you can tap into it, the things that were created in the past are in that happening right now. So
Mm.
it's a very difficult thing to understand when you're coming from mainstream way of thinking,
Yeah.
and you know it's now those concepts of our old people are at the cutting edge of physics, astrophysicists. They're looking at those things, and we understand those things from our own cultural way. We've always known about them for a long, long, long time, and
Yeah.
science is now trying to catch up to what we know.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, they're going to be taking a long time for doing that because they seem to do it to ask about face there, brother.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That's something I'm noticing in the world, and we always knew that because when I first met Donny, I said to him, "Hey, do you remember when you were young and the aunties and uncles would go? One day, them fellas will be coming back to us asking us questions on how to survive," and that's kind of now the time.
Yeah.
And it started with first a spiritual need, and obviously it looks like we're going into a physical need because there's there's people out there making it hard for us to live.
Yeah. Well, basically, what I was told um, is you got practicality and spirituality. They should go hand in hand. Well, at the moment, there's too much practicality, not enough spirituality. That's what I've been told. And that's got to even back out again. You understand what I'm talking about there?
Yep.
yeah, yeah. And yeah, the as Nese has said before, the powers that should not be,
Yeah,
they're really running amok at the moment. And
yeah, yeah.
it was mentioned about Dan Andrews there in Victoria. Uh, is it Ken that mentioned that on the chat? I mean, he's part and parcel of that.
Yep. Ken.
Saying doing all those bad things, all these politicians that are imposing harm on the people. And that's where it's good to listen to the voices of the first mob and say, you're a sovereign human being. Sometimes you got to make a decision and say, yeah, well, I'm not going to follow your rules because your rules are causing everyone harm.
Yeah, because I've seen it before, especially in native history all over the world. What's that word? Assimilation. But how I see it, so they first put one knee down, then put the other knee down. Now put your hand on the ground. Now put your other hand on the ground. Before you know it, you're flat on the ground. You didn't even know how you got there.
Yeah.
Because we can't forget what they've done to all the native people in the world. And I know some people go, oh, they beat the drum about it, but it's a truthful fact. And for the first time, I think, in history, the whole world's actually understanding what that is. Because It's happening to them. Yeah, because before I did the show, because on one of the shows, I told them we had papers to prove who we are, and people spun out. And I still haven't found them. I've got to go digging and actually get them to show people they're real. Show me your papers. And
Yeah, you got to have papers to say you're black. Yeah, that's right. I remember that now.
you know, we live in a blind world because you've got to need a piece of paper to say what colour you are.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's getting like that because I saw something the other day where they want to combine all your information on your phone, and I thought, to me, that's scary because I don't really even use the phone. Not like Donny, he can do a show on the phone. I've got no idea.
No, not that good there, sis. I'm telling you. I'm just as bad as tech savvy as you.
Huh.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can see where they're walking you to, you know.
Exactly. That's the thing. Sometimes people don't know how lucky they are until they've lost their freedoms.
Yeah.
And this continent was free for a long, long time. And then, Captain Cook and Arthur Phillip and, I think it was 11 ships on the first fleet, brought a lot of people that were in chains and terribly treated, started a penal colony. And lo and behold, we're coming back to a penal colony. And that's how it's heading. Because every piece of legislation they're pushing through is about more control for the common human being on the street. And we're allowing that to happen because we're being constantly told to forget about the sovereign little voice in our hearts and minds and spirits that says you're a sovereign human being born under natural law, and you should be living as one. Whereas we're told, you know, put this on, do that. You can't go here, you can't go there. I mean, there's rules that are common sense rules. There's value systems that are really important. Like don't steal, don't take, don't take other people's lives, don't take other people's things, show respect to each other. They're all a part of natural law. But the things they're doing now, like lockdowns, stopping people from being able to walk in the bush and all these silly things these rules weren't there, 50, 60 years ago. These rules weren't applied to the general populace. There's something that's come through legislation. But, for us as Aboriginal people, we understand it because although the general population didn't have to be following these rules that actually were oppressive, we were under the Aboriginal Protection Act, and our families have the stories and the oral histories to tell what that oppression means. And now it's actually coming back, and we're saying, you fellas are going to learn what it's to be like living under the Aboriginal Protection Act. We all fought hard together to give Aboriginal people citizenship rights and create an equal, try to create an equal place for people to live, and now it's going backwards. So the stories that Aboriginal people tell, I think, are very important stories because it reminds us what happens when we allow governments to to be our boss rather than the government being the servant of the people.
Yeah, it's like those alien shows where you see them come down and we're here to help you, we're here to help you, and then at the end of the movie you realise that it's not that at all. They were actually there to eat you or get rid of you.
Yeah, come in peace, shoot, kill.
Yeah, that's it. That's the one. Yeah, so I suppose all we can do is hope that people listen to what's happened to the people before them and have a look and understand what's going on.
Yes.
Like we got with the fires here, like they're only just starting now, and the year is 2022, to listen to our mob, to learn how to burn off properly, so you don't get burned out. Like it's taken 230 something years for them to just get to that point.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I'll give you an example. So down the road where the creek is, there's a reserve in the park. Now that should have been burnt off at the end of winter. But if I had went down there and burnt when it was time and a safe time to burn, which would have protected all the houses around there and provided the kangaroos with good green pick for for spring and summer. If I had went down there and burnt in a safe way, I would have been arrested.
Yeah.
And what happened is the fire went through and they had to get the fire brigade because it burnt out of the season. So when it does that, the fire goes out of control. It's not a cool burn, it's a hot burn, and it kills everything.
Yes, that's right.
But I can't do it. If I did it, I'd be in jail.
Yeah, same here.
As an arsonist.
Yeah.
But that knowledge I learned from, elders how to burn the country.
Yeah. Yeah. It's sort of like a rock and a hard place, isn't it, John?
It is. And it's sad. Like, I know the government's trying to move toward traditional burning and support Aboriginal communities to do, fire stick programs and all that sort of stuff, but it's too slow.
Yeah, I know. It needs to be picked up a bit more.
How many koalas died? I mean, koalas are on the brink of extinction.
Yeah.
If we were allowed to burn on country, those koalas wouldn't have perished.
No, they wouldn't have. It's like around this area here. I'm betting that the last time there was a cultural burn around my area would be close to 100 years, because they do hazard reduction, but it's not doing the job properly.
Nah, and hazard reduction is a lot of the time it's throwing incendiaries out of a chopper.
Yeah.
Throwing incendiaries out of a chopper and using those fire torches, that's not traditional burning.
No, it's not.
It's actually quite destructive.
Yeah, I've been to a lot of places and I've looked at it and I've talked to the spirit people there and they show me what it used to look like, and then I look what it looks like now. And it happened when I went to Donny's and I said to him, what's going on? It didn't look like this before. They were showing me different. And that's what he said to me. They used to burn off all the time and they don't do it anymore. And when they showed me what it looked like before, it was beautiful. It was easy to get around. It was beautiful. Everything was abundant and clean. It was a big difference on many levels. Big difference. And that's the thing too. It's not really just that simple thing as burning off. What comes from it is on many levels, and and it helps many things. It helps things grow back, so it feeds the animals, which in turn feeds us, which in turn makes nature sing, which in turn feeds us again in our spirit. And it's just different levels. There's good reasons for lots of things
Yeah,
in culture.
that's right. And like, I think Ken there made a comment about national parks burning or fire department burning. Well, when I was in the national parks, you know, the as a ranger on the Central Coast, the the manager of the district, he'd just pull a couple of maps out and he'd go, "Oh, we haven't burnt that lately. Oh, we haven't burnt this," and we'll just burn that. And like, there's no logic in it with regard to the cultural and the natural knowledge, natural heritage. Like, there's no effort put in. It's just, oh yeah, we'll do it this week. We'll do that one next week. It's like, you need to go walk the country. You need to look at the country. You need to see how things are doing. You need to look at the season. They're burning off in spring. It's like, it's just
Yeah, bit
boggling
late.
that how stupid people are, that they don't understand that all the birds are breeding in spring. The echidnas come out, all the critters, native critters coming out in spring, and they want to put a fire through it. It's like, you should have done that before. You should have done it in winter, at the end of winter.
Before they're coming out.
Well,
And you don't
that's
just,
when Dad used to do his burn, was around that August time, John. So I remember when I was a kid doing it, and it was early to mid August. He used to burn,
yeah,
and he used to burn late in the afternoon. He didn't make a big fire. He used to go out into the middle of the paddock, and he put 3 fires going in a circle. You know what I mean? And the fire used to go in on each other. And by the time it was late afternoon, the fire was out.
yeah. And when I was taught burning, because when I had uncles to teach me and talk to me about things when I was younger, and then I went up to North Queensland. I'd seen what happened in national parks. I left national parks and went up to North Queensland, and where that knowledge of traditional burning was still alive and used. And I sat and I learnt from mob up there. And it's just amazing how, when you use fire with cultural knowledge, it's a
Yeah,
beautiful thing.
yeah,
And
it is.
you know, I seen that
It is.
you walk, you burn, start a little fire. That little fire will creep and creep, and it'll creep around little, little flowers, and it'll just creep real slowly. And because they chose the right time, they understood the country, and they knew how to do what was supposed to be done to maintain the health of the natural world in that country. They're
Yeah,
not,
yeah,
they got no degree, but they got a degree from their elders.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, I've noticed when they do hazard reduction here around this area, um, it, yeah, it ticks me off. Want a better word? I could swear and carry on, but they light it down the bottom of the hill. And as you know, when a fire goes uphill, it preheats everything and goes even faster. And it just literally obliterates everything. And I'm trying to explain to them, start at the top of the hill and let it work its way down. And
Yeah,
you'll get a better burn. Plus, it'll take all that litter and everything without destroying everything. Because we had to go along there and, put out trees that are on fire. Even bloody fence posts, had to go and put them out because they started at the bottom of the hill. And it just went like a bloody Bondi tram up to the top of the hill. And it's
yeah.
not working. It's just
Oh, they got
killing
no
everything.
idea. They might have been educated at a university, but as far as the knowledge of looking after country, they have no idea.
Yeah, yeah. That's definitely one thing I noticed that, John. I've very noticed that a lot. Yeah. Them
Um,
egg
even for the waterways, they don't know how to keep them clean either.
Yeah. See, there was another situation there too. I was telling you before, Luna, which didn't make no sense to me. But when the drought came, they went and pulled all the logs out of the river so the water could run better. Now they turn around and they're going to put logs back into the river to give fish habitat and aquatic habitat to. If they just left the logs there in the river in the first place, they wouldn't have to spend all these thousands and thousands of dollars to put all these logs back into the river, which did not make sense to me because that's just wasting money and wasting time and effort. Because these big floods were getting around here. If they put them logs in the river for fish habitat, they're just going to pick up and float off downstream, which didn't make no sense to me. Like, I could pull all my hair out trying to fathom what they're trying to do. They're just doing things back and front.
It's like giving us a 5-year-old or 6-year-old child matches and saying to the kid, "Here, use those matches inside the house. Oh, look, use some paper, burn some paper." It's like, you know what I mean? It's so ridiculous that you've got people that are in control of this continent that are like little children in their head that have no clue about safety. It's like, as I said, it's like, it's just ridiculous. But you know that the thing is, because they think that they know better.
Yeah. Well, that's what I noticed that with them. That you just can't get it through their heads. If they just left things as it is, without destroying it, things will come right in the finish. But you can't tell them that.
No, because
it's like they know better.
Well, this is it, brother. This is the thing. Like, I'll tell you this. Now, when I was young, and Luna knows this, them elders come to me that are passed on now, our uncles, and they said, go to university, go and get educated, so that you can, you know, get that piece of paper and then support our community so that they will listen to us. And they said, always remind me, don't get brainwashed. So I went through the system. I got educated mainstream ways. You know, I got a degree, I got a master's, I got all this others, blah, blah, blah. I got a PhD. And then, you know, for government to learn, what they do is they give an academic $10,000 or $20,000 or $100,000 research grant. And then those academics will then go out to the Aboriginal community and interview elders and then write up a big report after they spend $100,000. And then they'll make recommendations to the government. And the government will go, oh, Dr. So-and-so has said that you shouldn't take the logs out of the river because it will destroy the aquatic ecosystems. And then after $100,000 and listening to a white academic, that's when they'll listen to what Aboriginal people have to say. Because when we try to voice the knowledge of our ancestors and like 85,000 years worth of land management on this continent, for them, it's not credible until an academic with a PhD gets a grant to do research and come and interviews us and then gives us a tick to see whether what we're saying is worthy and legitimate or not. And see, I can see that now because I've got the mainstream education behind me to say to the academics, well, you know what? Our people knew that before. Our people didn't need a piece of paper to understand how country was because country was everything to them.
Yes.
And still is for us.
Yes. Yeah, oh, so true there, brother. Oh, so true.
Actually, I see that in community, how they come out with their papers and that, and they ask questions, and I kind of laugh on the inside. They're looking for answers, looking for answers. But yeah, it's sad that the system's like that. When all they have to do is listen. If they just listened from the beginning, it would save all that money. Could have went to the orphans. All that money could have went to a lot of better things. But
Yeah, that's right. That money could have went to looking after country. Could have went to, making farming and agriculture a lot more sustainable. Could have, to make our ecological areas more um, intact and productive for native wildlife and for the just for the general health of the natural world. And, I mean, things are changing slowly, but it's not fast enough.
I agree, it's not fast enough. I was going to say that there's not enough time. All right, so you fellas are both in areas where you talk to public sometimes and stuff like that, and you meet people, obviously from the offices and universities. Now, for me, when someone wants to know about our culture, or if they want to work with our people, and there's a thing we call it's cultural education that we provide for non-Aboriginal people to understand. But what I found with it, you can't do a 2-week course, and you can't do a 3-hour seminar and walk out and think you know our people. In my opinion, I feel you need to walk with us for a certain period of time, and that period of time kind of depends on the person's mind we're working with and their spirit and all that and their heart. And they walk with us for a little while and they start to open like a flower and totally understand. That's how I think it should be conducted. With the experience you fellas have had working with these people, how would you suggest it be conducted? Cultural training.
Yes. Sometimes it feels like you're working with morons. I'm sorry to say that, but that's what it sounds though. It's like you tell them something, they'll go directly the opposite of what you want to try to explain to them. It's very frustrating.
You're supposed to write it on. You got to write it on a piece of paper, brother, and they have to read it.
How do you spell moron though?
I don't. Oh dear. Do you find some people are more susceptible than others, or do you always get the same kind of people?
I find that the best ones to work with is actually women. They seem to be more to it than men.
Mhm.
I find with non-Indigenous people that women are the most to get across to, and children, definitely children. Children, that seems to be the best of all of them. If you can educate them before they get old enough, they'll understand them a lot more better.
And you know what? I think the reason why these things are the way they are is because in mainstream society, in most places around the world, people aren't taught to learn how to think. They're not taught to be reflective, to be critical, to um, ask respectful questions, to go away and listen to different voices and actually get experience doing different things, and then come back and then think about things and have peace in your heart and mind and reflect, and then use your intuition and understand what's the best path forward, and um, I'll be allowed to make mistakes, take safe risks and make safe mistakes to learn from that way. That's a system of learning how to be a critical, reflective, independent, sovereign human being. And mainstream schools around the world in most countries, they don't. Those systems of education don't teach people how to be independent, reflective, critical human beings. They teach them how to think, what to think. They don't teach them how to be independent, critical thinkers. They tell them what to think. Like when I was training as a teacher on my last prac, because I jumped from national parks where I was just so blown away. That was my aspiration to work on country, and from national parks I just got this massive culture shock. I thought, what am I going to do? I want to work with my people. I want to work with community. I want to share our culture. I'll go into education. Anyway, so going into my prac, I thought, well, I'll do art because I love art and I can teach science and teach art. Two different extremes, but I'll do it. And I was on my last prac to become a teacher in the system, and I walked into the art staff room, which was going to be had my little desk there for a month, where I was going to do my teaching and learn and get my final accreditation to be a teacher. And as soon as I walked into that art room, I was confronted with a big sign. And it said, "You must comply." I thought, oh my Lord, what the heck is this? And when I was teaching art to the students, the supervising teacher, who's teaching me how to be a teacher, is telling me that these students need to comply. They need to paint things this way. They need to paint things that way. They need to learn cubism, and the cubism case study, they must comply and do it this way. I'm thinking, this is art class. In art class, you're supposed to learn how to use your imagination, your skills, your your ability to observe the world and your intuition and all that sort of thing, and use those strengths, and you do art and just create beautiful things no matter what they are. But nah, I can't do that. You got to comply. Oh no, you can't use those colors. You could use these colors. It's like, oh, man, like I got such a shock that they're not teaching young people how to be critical, reflective human beings that are sovereign. They're teaching them how to be cookie cutter robots that comply to what the system tells them to do. And this is the issue. This is why people aren't learning, because they don't know how to learn. When you're a child, you know how to learn because you're born that way. It's a natural thing. It's in your system. You're born as a free, sovereign human being with natural law, and your body, your eyes, your ears, all your senses teach you how to learn, help you learn. They're your tools to learn. As soon as you go to school, that they knock you silly and tell you not to believe any of those tools of measurement and the senses that you're given by the great creator, but instead you've got to listen to them, to the system.
That's why I didn't go, John. I didn't. I realised that actually when I got to high school, that's when it hit me more than anything. And I realised, I thought, even one of my teachers actually pulled me aside, my science teacher, and he said to me, what you're looking for and what you need isn't here, it's out there. And I remember standing there really stunned, like, this is a teacher telling me this. And I had a lot of trouble because when I first started my first history class, the teacher started telling me that Aboriginal people didn't exist. And I looked at him and I went, "Excuse me, sir, I can't participate in this class." And he said to me, "I totally understand that. You have a total right to." And he actually just let me do whatever I wanted because he knew what he was teaching wasn't true. And then not long after that, it changed. And that was my introduction to the world. And of course, I didn't fall for any of the BS after that because it hit me first thing in the face. And there were other things like when the girls hit a certain age, they have to have a certain medicine for a certain disease. And when they all got called to do that, Creator called to me and said, go and hide yourself, and I'll be told when it was safe to come out. So I did what Creator told me to do, wondering what the hell was going on. And then I got told to run into the line as they came out the door, and I looked up at the door of the hall where they were all in, and it was opening and the girls were coming out. So I ran into the line like I was told to, and asked the girl next to me what happened in there, and she told me. And when I realized the nature of what it was rubella medicine. I looked up to the sky and I didn't quite understand what Creator was saving me from. But now I totally understand 100%. 100%. And that's not long after that I stopped going to school. So, mind you, I did have to go back, but I went to an Aboriginal college. And I went back and I got a piece of paper because I knew to work. And like John was saying, to be taken seriously, you got to have that piece of paper that says you went and got brainwashed by this course and you're now capable of regurgitating it. But that was a necessity of life, obviously, to get a job and stuff like that. You gotta be realistic at one point. But that was my story.
Well, there, one Polynesian made a comment there. The tree of wisdom is a tough
Oh
climb.
yeah,
But you can still find knowledge when you fall out and hit the roots. And I think that's a really good quote because it makes a good definition that shows that wisdom is much, much, much different, much more different than education. You know, there's a difference in education and wisdom, and our students and our young people aren't taught wisdom at school.
yeah, I realise that too. I used to get into trouble for asking questions that were inappropriate, and I used to think I'm not being disrespectful. Well, I couldn't understand what was going on. Why was I getting in trouble for the questions I was asking? And one of the teachers actually had a violent reaction. I just couldn't, because to me it was all natural. Everyone thought like that, but obviously they didn't. That was a rude awakening.
And the sad thing is, like, when we look at the challenges we have in society, and we start to see the deception and the manipulation of information and policies that actually harm the people more than help the people, because the way we've gone through the system to comply and not to learn how to gain wisdom or to be a sovereign, independent, critical thinker for ourselves, to ask respectful questions in a so-called democratic free nation that has free speech, because we don't learn how to use, we're not taught to use those powers. The system, and especially the government and the powers that should not be, as Nese always speaks about, have the best advantage to manipulate society and push us against each other. And as from that show like a month ago, the black bean juice, aka the jibby jab, people weren't allowed to think or critically reflect or make self-determined decisions. It was all about coercion, compliance, and conditioning. And the things that were said at the beginning by government and policymakers and pharmaceuticals have seemed to have changed now. We're 2 years down the track, and then they go back and say, "Oh, actually, yeah, we didn't really know that anyway, but we did say ABC." And it's like, well, you said ABC that influence people and influence policy, and you said that was the science, but really, nobody was allowed or had the ability to actually question and ask respectful questions to allow people to think for themselves. So that was
Yeah, that
compacting and making things worse. You know what I mean? Like people don't have the skills to think independently, and then they're coerced as well. So it was a double whammy sort of thing.
yeah, that hurt our lots of cultural people because it went against our natural ways again, making us go against what was natural. And some of the stories I heard make your heart cry, because people couldn't even hug each other, you know, they couldn't even be with each other and stuff like that. And I just thought it was a total opposite way to natural living. I couldn't, and it was like a silent cloud that fell upon us. But I do know that people are understanding now. They're starting to realise what's happening, and again come back around and go to all native people all over the world. There's a better way of living. Let's have a look at it. I wanted to ask you, yeah, because what happens to me when I go bush and sit, I see how it used to be, like a typical day in the old way. To you fellas, what you've learned in that, what do you think a typical day in the old way would be, and where would this knowledge exchange take place? Would it be in the morning? Would it be hunting? You know, I just want to hear from you fellas how the knowledge would take place of every day, because we're oral people, right? We're talking. There were times we're sitting around and we're just talking. That's when it would happen. What would the I presume it'd be every day in different ways, a constant thing, and then you'd have your special times, because it's a lot different to the way we live now. And I just like to construct it so people get an understanding what a typical day in the life of the old ones would have been compared to now.
9 o'clock, you get up, you go to school. Gammon.
Yeah, you put your uniform on.
No, it's you go, Donny. You have a yarn, brother.
Yeah, well, that's a really hard one because basically I wasn't taught how they used to, hand that knowledge over, for want of a better word. Like, but I dare say how they used to do it. Like when I was a kid, I used to go out working with my uncles, right? And they used to tell me stories at lunch break, at the fire campfire, when they were doing some things in the bush. They tell you how to do things and how to do it the right way and how to do it the wrong way. Well, that's basically contemporary now, isn't it? But back then, I have no idea. But the only thing I could think of is basically what my uncles used to do when I was up bush with them. That's the best I could give you on that subject there, Luna. Yeah, bush education. That's it. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah. Yeah.
John?
Well, you learn all the time. As I said, like the old people, the way they see in the world was different. Because we're brought up in the mainstream system, we're not taught how to be critical, reflective, sovereign human beings, and we're not taught how to think for ourselves. back in the day, and still today, when you get a traditional education, you learn how to think for yourself. And everything you do in your life, from waking up, sleeping, eating, going to the toilet, everything in between, is taught and scaffolded in a way that helps challenges you to think and learn. It's about learning, it's about wisdom. It's about um, understanding your place, understanding your responsibilities, understanding your obligations and other people's obligation and responsibilities, not just to human beings, but to every living thing. So, when you're little, you hang around all your grannies and the old aunties and your mums, and you learn around the campfire, and you learn when you're walking on country. Then as you get older and you start to mature, young, the young men and the boys will go with the men. The young women will go with the women, and they'll learn their responsibilities. As, for instance, a young woman is going to be a mother, an auntie, a grandmother, a life giver. So she'll learn all the things that's associated with her role, her responsibilities, and her path, her strengths, her challenges, and the same as a young man. So every part of your life is about learning, and our creation stories, and like we were talking about earlier, the dream time. That's the platform and the foundation of everything that helps us exist in the world. So we have the pillars of our identity, which is our language, our song, dance, our the creation, um, country, kinship. All these things are interwoven into your life. So, like one day you might wake up, you might go for a walk. Like, for instance, like Donny and I might go hunting, and we might take the rifle and go and shoot a kangaroo. Well, there's everything that you do is something that involves learning and wisdom. What one do you shoot? When do you shoot it? How do you shoot it? How do you cut it up? How do you cook it? And those series of decisions aren't just about human beings. Those series of decisions are also about the kangaroo tribe, because they're your family too. So that's what learning was all about, and you never stop learning from the cradle to the grave. And even when you step into the next world, you don't stop learning. So it's a very different way of seeing the world.
Yeah, and even our structure, like in today's world, you get up early in the morning, you go to work, you come home in the afternoon. We got up, did our business, everyone come back, and then we all had to feed. And then whatever was to be done after that, we'd do it in a casual way. It wasn't like, hurry up, we've only got 5 minutes left, and you're on your lunch break. It was nothing like that. It was when the time was right, it felt right. Everything had to be in unison, because things happen, and you got to make allowances for things that happen. And that's why we got Murray time, Query time, Blackfella time, because that's what we had them. It was all in good time. And they used to think that our mob's lazy, fellas? They say our mob's lazy because a lot of them still follow. You get up, you do stuff, and then you sit down, you have a feed and yarn, and then go off and do whatever's at the time. And they'd think that we were lazy, but it wasn't. It was just that we did stuff. We just didn't do it like a slave and have the clock on it.
And there's a time and place for everything.
That's right.
And see, like working at a university and working in a research center and working in the faculty of medicine, universities are funded to do research of community, and mainstream researchers don't understand that Aboriginal community work on the community clock, like you said, Koori time, Murray time, Guri time, and when you try to push things to a artificial time, um, like when you try to push things when they shouldn't happen, it causes more drama than it does good. Like, Luna and I was in a yarn, a community, like a community discussion about the issues that the, the issues that arose because of the band-aids that happened because of the C-19. I won't say the word because you probably you
Yeah,
might
it's all right.
cause,
Yeah, we know what
but
you're talking about.
so that thing that happened to all our communities. So we were having a conversation. Now the university academics come in to the community and sat there, and they were made to wait till the time is right for when community wanted to speak. So I facilitated that, and I got a bit anxious, but I thought, you know what, things will happen when they're meant to happen. And I mean, you were there, you were present, Luna. You seen that conversation flow and create some really positive vibes, talking about a very negative thing,
Yeah,
because everybody got to speak and everybody had the freedom to speak, and it didn't go on the clock of not of the academic or the mainstream clock. It went on the community clock, and everybody spoke when they felt the time was to speak. And there's a time and place for everything. So our clock is a lot different, but it's a lot better.
the natural clock. I heard a story once that um, when I think it was the English or somebody went to China, and the emperor at the time showed their leader who went there, took him to a room and showed him this really, really, really old clock. And they said to him, "Why don't you use it?" And he says, "We didn't have a need to. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. We know when to do things and when things should be done." And then he covered it back up. And when I heard that story, I thought, what happened? Because even they knew that a clock was not good. So, yeah, you can't force things like you said, John. It's got to
Yeah,
happen when it needs to happen.
like a mainstream clock is a tool. It's a tool for us to use in a way which we see best. But the strange thing is about modern society is the tools become our boss, and then we have to conform to the tools.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, we're not robots.
That's funny. Hmm. Yeah, in the chat room, it's coming in America. It's coming autumn, they call it, and winter. And I tell people that traditionally here we don't have 4 seasons. We actually have more. And they look at me, and I'm like, "Oh, does you want to enlighten that and explain why we don't have 4 seasons?" They could,
It
John.
depends where you are, because like it depends on what climatic area you're in, because in some places you do have a more of a variation. And the old people, because they were so in tune, they knew when things flowered, when certain wind blew. They knew that, and when the stars moved in the sky, the celestial night sky moved. They knew everything had a place, and they understood the world through that um, lens. So it was just a different cultural way of understanding seasons. Whereas seasons nowadays are you know, they're a little bit simplified. Nowadays, it's like the season you have is when you work and when you get holidays.
Yeah, the Christmas season, holiday season. Yeah, that's true. And what I noticed about here, I see it like a ripple, because when the lily pillies are ready here, I can walk to Sydney, and by the time I get there, the lily pillies will be ready there. And I noticed it was like a little ripple that rippled across the land. So it was like there was always something there before you got there, if you knew what you were going for. Food, obviously, and medicine. Yeah, I thought that was a good one. So, well, we've been yarning for an hour, nearly 2 hours. Is there anything else you want to yarn about, you fellas, that you want to tell people about, or anything
Not
that
off
come
my
up?
head.
You're nodding off.
No, I said not off my head. I can't really think of anything else at the moment there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not unless anyone in the chat wants to ask a question or make a comment or participate or have a
Yeah,
yarn into it.
I'll put it in again. I did put the link in there if anyone wanted to jump in. A lot of people get shy, but it's there. Jump in if you want to ask something. Yeah, so it's been an interesting evening. We've talked about everything like we normally do. Sometimes I ask you questions. Sorry, I feel like the interviewer. It's like,
Yeah. See, sometimes the questions you ask because people have a different way of seeing and understand things. So, for instance, when we talk about seasons, we are, you know, conditioned into thinking seasons in one way. Whereas if you've got to live from a country and every like the flowering of a tree, the moving of the sky, those celestial ecological indicators tell you how to survive, and they're really important for you to understand how to live. Then the notion and the understanding of what a season is changes. You know, like it's like saying to our ancestors, "Do you know what happy hour is?" If you said, if they asked you what's a season, you would say, "Oh, a happy hour is one of our seasons in the day." You know, like it just doesn't translate. So those things, when you're asking about our old people's ways, sometimes they don't translate that well into our contemporary life.
in modern day, yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
sometimes go the long way around so you can understand things a little bit better.
Yeah.
And see, like when we're talking about burning, like most people don't have responsibility to burn country anymore, to use fire for cultural burning. So all the things all the responsibilities and learning and wisdom associated with that responsibility, they're not relevant to people today, because we go to the supermarket and we go to the shopping centers and the malls. Even if you're in the country, you know, most of the forest is gone, so you don't have to burn to protect the forest and protect this and protect that. This is just a total different way of living. But maybe one day, you know, that way of living will come back again.
Yeah. Yeah. And hopefully it comes back a bit quicker than the way they've learned to burn off. Otherwise, it's a long haul for everybody. It'll be a long haul.
Yeah. Well, it's what
So,
it is, eh?
yeah. Actually, before we go, because what's flashing in my head, the thumbnail I used for the show had a little picture of me and Donny at the water near where he lives. And I had a rock fish catching area. And when I went there, I said to Donny, you need to get some fellas together to build it back up because it was in pretty good condition considering how old it is, and there was only a little bit broken. And then he told me the other day, after the rains, because it was a little bit broken, the rest of it kind of got smashed up as well. But things like that, like the burn, same as the burning, there should be a crew of fellas that go down there and fix it up so it lasts longer.
Yeah, there used to be fish traps on most of the rivers once.
Yeah, apparently we've got an eel trap down here too, but I haven't been down there to have a look to see if it even still exists anymore.
Yep, it's gone from speeding traps to it's gone from fishing traps to speeding traps.
Yeah, shot by a gun, but shot by something else. Oh dear! Instead of a fire, it's a TV screen. Oh dear! And where will we be going? I know at one point the internet will go down. It's already happened to Johnny. He lives in the country. That'll certainly make things different, and hope people enjoy the old ways when it happens. The internet, and you have to actually talk to people face to face again.
Yeah, it's gone from extended family and kinship to social services and Centrelink.
We should make a comedy sketch on that. That'd be funny.
Yeah, sit down money.
Sit down money. Yeah, that's what we call it. Sit down and fill up here. Money. Sit down money.
Yeah, that's what I call it. Sit down money.
I got a little voice in the background that wants to come inside, and when I let him in, like last time, he's going to make a lot of noise. I don't know if you can hear him in the background. He's going meow, meow, meow.
Well, you're lucky not in Central Australia, otherwise he'd be on the fire and everybody would be picking at his butt.
Oh, don't say that, because I know for a fact that if the shit hits the fan to a certain extent, the dogs and cats will be the first things that go missing, right? And I look at the animals and I go, I'm going to have to hide you.
That's the only reason I let you have them.
Now Carl comes into the conversation. Look, I know. Yeah, the cat chow.
That's why I called my dog Hot Dog.
Yeah.
Oh dear.
Yeah, Dagwood dog. On a stick.
No, they'll be eating each other. It'll be like what do they want us to do? Start eating what's his name? Schwab and all them want to do? Start eating human beings and start eating insects.
Hey, yeah, when I heard that they wanted us to eat insects, I said to Carl, oh, come on. We know which insects you're supposed to eat and which ones you're not supposed to. They can't fool us.
Exactly. I was eating bush tucker. I was eating insects at, 15?
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Uncle Ian took me and cut the one old tree open and grabbed the grubs and showed me how to eat and which ones to eat and which not to eat. And he said, what does that taste like? He said, that's a bush tucker, that grub. I said, yum, tastes like sawdust.
It tastes like sawdust.
And he said, then he said, don't worry, I've got a sandwich here for you.
That's funny. Yeah. So, I'm not eating their insects. No way. They're not the ones to eat, right? There are some you can eat and some you can't. Oh, look, here he is, the old fella in the background. Hear him?
We'll put it this way. Most of the time we went out and got grubs on the river. It didn't go in our belly. It went on the fish hook and we got fish instead.
I think I'll go that way, John.
Yeah, I had that plant, remember, that you grind up the roots and you throw it in the water and it stuns the fish and they all float to the top and you got so many minutes to scoop them up before they wake up and swim away. I thought that was the best way because you're not hurting them.
Knock them on the head.
You just, you got to pop them on the head and eat them, right? But to actually catch them, they just float to the top and you can scoop them up, throw the little ones back in, and have them all ready to go, and then they'll all wake up and swim away. I thought that was a good way of fishing. But something happened to my tree. Polly will understand this. I had mycelia mushrooms started growing at the bottom of the tree, and then the tree died. So I don't know what happened there, and I lost me fishing plant. I used to call it the fishing plant because I live near the river, and having that plant was like, yeah, if I ever get stuck, I can just grind it up, go down and catch some fish.
Yeah.
You're lucky you got the fish and chip shop across the road.
I have. Seriously, I have got a fish and chip shop across the road. I got a Chinese shop too. That's why I tell the cats not to cross the road. Oh dear. Yeah, our people, we have a unique sense of humour, and it's our way of coping with everything. And we don't mean to offend anybody by our humour, but no one's excluded, and ourselves included. So, all right then, fellas. Is there anything you want to say about tonight's yarn before we say yaloo to everybody?
Just stay
I reckon it was a good show.
Yeah.
A good yarn up, this one. Hopefully there should be more coming, I suppose. We can get together, have a good yarn up, get that knowledge out there so people understand us a bit better. What do you crew reckon?
Yeah, deadly. Wait, we'll have to catch Nese next time.
Yeah, he went out partying, so he probably was tired. He went out to have a laugh. But yeah, and the time we have it on, because of the time difference, it's really early in the morning for him, 9 o'clock. But some of us are getting old and we can't stay up that late. Can we, Donny?
Well, I'm sleeping in tomorrow because it's Sunday.
It's Sunday, yeah. And for some of the mob here, it's Saturday. And we're in the future. You're going to have a beautiful day. It's going to be full of good things. Because our day was, now it's your turn. Yeah, even the cat agreed. So, all right then.
All right, everyone. Goodbye. Talk to you again soon. Everyone on the chat and in the digital circle. Stay well. Good to yarn with the fellas, and I'll catch up with you again soon.
It was good having a good yarn with you, John.
Yeah, my brother.
Yeah. Hopefully we'll do it again, eh?
Yeah. Yellow. That's what yellow means. Again.
Yeah, yellow. Yeah, yellow. Till we meet again.
Yep. It does. And oh, hang on, what am I doing? So yeah, we'll do this again next week, hopefully, fellas. We'll have a yarn, and I'm trying to get some more people to come in, but our people are shy, and they'll talk to you, and as soon as you say, hey, can we put this on live, they clam up and go no. So you've got to warm them up, and you've got to ask them more than once, and a little bit of time to go through for it to sink in, and then they get brave enough to come on. So hopefully we can talk a few of our mob to join us and get their opinion and their view on stuff. Yeah, and thanks, John, for coming and joining us. Thanks, Donny, for joining us.
All good. No, well, I'm happy to have a good yarn, and if any of the mob in the circle want to put down ideas for talking about different topics, and we can, include them in the talking circle.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to hear about certain things specifically, yeah, just let us know. Leave a comment or in the chat room, or anyone that knows me, ask me when you talk to me later. Yeah, we'll add it to the show. I'm hoping we can get a few of the other mobs like the Maori mob. How do you say it, John? We call it Maori mob, but how do you say it properly?
Yeah, the Māori.
Maori.
Yeah.
Maori, yeah. Some couple people from there. So we'll see how we go. We'll just keep coming back each week and trying to help you understand the native lens. So, all right, hang in there, fellas. So when I switch it off, you'll still be there. So just give me a second. So everyone out there, thank you for listening. I hope that you've enjoyed what we said. I hope that you've got something out of it. And like we said, if you've got questions, we're more than happy to answer them if it's possible. And Creator loves you on this day. Respect to our elders and ancestors in all the lands that these voices have been heard in. And we'll see you next time.
Has it stopped? I could hear a cat.